call your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it. So let's waste no time, folks. Oh yeah, let's get to it. Story number 1. Local bars are back in the spotlight. Dan Pompley has a report out of the Mediator published October 11th out of Austintown explaining how a local bar in the community has put the attention back on bar safety. Now this is after a fight broke out when an officer was performing a liquor license inspection at the Zodiac Club Lounge. Now this story echoes a story sometime back in Youngstown showing how hard it is for bar managers to control and keep the local nightlife safe for their customers. Now this story made it in because of the continued struggles that local businesses have had to face when it comes to following the rules, paying the bills, and keeping their customers happy. Story number 2. Mahoning Valley homes for autistic individuals. Dalen's House has made local headlines in WFMJ News. Now, the nonprofit is dedicated to empowering and enriching the lives of autistic individuals and has announced plans to build housing for the people that they serve. So far, the organization has raised over $14,000, and Struthers Mayor Catherine Sircone Miller has announced that her city plans to donate land for construction of a house in Struthers. The report goes on to explain how Boardman has also donated some land, thus getting this story into the topic. Story number 3. What you may not know about local nonprofits and local business data. Here's some data. The Mahoning County has about 357 nonprofit organizations according to the Better Business Bureau, if you did not know. Here's another one. Healthcare and social assistance, manufacturing, and retail are also the largest industries locally when it comes to Mahoning County. You probably didn't know that. Now, the highest paying industries are mining, quarrying, and oil and gas extraction, utilities, and management of companies and enterprises. That's locally. Those are the highest paying jobs, if you did not know that. Now, in 2023, Mahoning County had a total economic impact of $1.1 billion with over $638 million from direct visitor spending. That means tourism. That means people come here to be defined to get tourism. They come here for tourism. Now, the employment rate was 54.7% in 2023, and the median household income was $51,738 in 2023. This is all according to Mahoning County, Ohio Data USA. Story number 4. Loans to help businesses in downtown Youngstown. After talking to some people say there's not too much progress when it comes to the people who have lost their home in downtown Youngstown at the Realty Tower, but there are some new things that are trying to be done for business because David Skolnick has a report out of Youngstown explaining how a federal agency has put the okay in for loans to help downtown businesses who were hurt by the gas explosion. Now the article goes on to explain how the explosion economically hurt downtown businesses. Only time will tell how effective these loans will be. The story is still developing. Story number 5. Water increase in Girard. WFMJ has a headline report explaining how Girard residents will see a 16% increase on their water bill starting next month, according to Girard's Mayor Mark Zuppel. Now, the report goes on to explain how Zuppel says that the increase is due to low payments from the city of Niles on their water bills between 2020 and 2023. In reading further, Zuppel explains how this mistake is on Niles for billing an amount lower than what was actually owed, which, according to the report, was spotted in late 2022, in which Zuppel said nothing was done. Now, to recoup the funds, Zuppel says that the city took out a loan between $650,000 and $700,000, in which the rate increase will be used to pay back the loan. So he's basically saying that customers have to account for some mistakes made by now. Now the report goes on to say that the rate increase will remain in place even after the city pays back the loan, thus making this a top story. Story number 6, $1.2 million grant in Youngstown for lead pipes. A report out of Youngstown by David Skolnick explains why $1.2 million in federal grant money to purchase equipment has made top headlines due to an effort to replace lead water lines in Youngstown. Money is set to come from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency after an EPA lead line program was funded through the bipartisan infrastructure law. Now, the article goes on to explain what the money will be used for. The goal is to finish replacing lead water lines by 2050. So that's $2.4 million to replace about 300 water lines on the south side of Mahoning Avenue. This is already, well, they said that $2.4 million to replace about 300 water lines on the south side of Mahoning Avenue has already been done. This is according to the report. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week for you to keep you informed. As a child, I had ambitions, goals to be a mediator, to be somebody who is involved with storytelling, reading, and trying to stay productive. And here I am today, carrying out that dream of a young lad in his mother's womb, blossoming into something to be useful for the community. Story number 7. Frustration in Youngstown's fire department reveals something about people and what people are going through. David Skolnick has a report published October 11th about some frustrations that made headlines within the Youngstown Fire Department. The report goes on to explain how an investigation claiming that Fire Chief Barry Finley made some racial remarks towards 2 fire union officials. This is what the report says. Now, the entire report reveals some unsettled vibes within the unit and could prove how stressful it has become for emergency response units. I mean, people are stressed out. Now, according to the report, the incident occurred September 6th in the law department conference room. Now, the story crept in due to the current political and racial climate, along with the continued stress being put on emergency workers of all races, creeds, and colors. Story number 8 and the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week for you to keep you informed. If you want to check out the website, I usually upload the show after it airs on Mondays, on Sundays when it airs. I usually upload it on Mondays, so if you don't get a chance to watch it today, you can watch it on Monday. Story number 8. Let's get to this top story. Local school teachers, staff, and coaching jobs are getting harder. If you did not know, harder. Or are they just getting tougher because of parents, because of other things? Now, Ed Ryan has a report out of the Mediator published October 16th after Carl Pelini, who is Moody's High School's head football coach, he was assaulted in the coach's office by the parent of a Moody player, according to the report. Now, the incident appears to have occurred after a player's father accused the coach of giving his son a hard time. Now, the report goes on to explain how the incident occurred during a Friday night football game, or a game at Warren G. Harding High School. Now, the entire fight involving the coach being hit he was hit in the face. This is all explained in the report, and that's what the report says. Now, this is yet another issue keeping school sports in the headlines. School sports, period. Now, just a few weeks ago, East and Cheney Middle School's football season was canceled by the superintendent after a fight between parents broke out there, thus keeping the job of local teachers, staff, and coaches in top headlines. Now, these are emergency crews. I mean, people are getting into it. Teachers, faculty members. Folks, this is serious, especially when you see the fire chief. And so this is why these stories are making it, because people are stressed out. They're taking their frustrations out on people. And that's why we all just need to calm down, relax, breathe in, breathe out, and take a little dose of mediation. That's why Stir Number 8 made it to the top this week. Well, folks, so there are top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator, me, Brian West. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. Folks, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I have done my best to try to please and be good to women and say nice things, and sometimes it gets me in trouble. That's not my gift, you know. I got a cousin that's he's very good with women. He knows how to talk to them and in their presence, and they're getting twinkly eyed and oh, you're so special. Oh, you are too, sweetie. Everybody's all feeling all cuddly and cuddly inside. That's not my gift. I tend to get in arguments and fights and the other day I was listening to a song by Lenny Kravitz. American woman, stay away from me. American woman, mama, let me be. I listened to the song. I said, man, that brother's on to something. So a few years ago, you know, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I made this movie. I got all these young local talent together, and we made this movie about breast cancer. And I said, you know, I'm going to do something for women. And I had one girl, she dressed in pink bandanas, and we filmed a whole little local film, and I just knew I was going to be an asset. I got a cancer survivor. She was supposed to talk. I had this whole planned out. I was going to do something positive. And I had a girlfriend. She was picking with me. And I got a lump on my breast. Hey, you got a damn lump on your breast? You all right? Shoot. Nothing wrong with you. So we got over, and I said, I invited all these women and people to come. My grandfather had died of cancer, so I thought this was going to be a special day. I ordered all this food. I probably spent a lot of money. And come to the event, only a few people showed up. I was devastated. My buddy Louie O'Neill, he works out and he's a locksmith, and he was in the film, and man, he was always encouraging, but he was probably the most encouraging guy. Brian, it's all right, you know. And the people who did show, we had a good time. But I'm always trying to be positive when it comes to women, and it never works out. And I think the only woman that I've ever really got along with is my mother. That's about it. Every other one, I'm scared. I go to bed at night shaking, and that's not my gift. But I do want to shout out to all the breast cancer survivors. You know, I know it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but I've tried to be a ladies' man. I tried to send flowers and pucker women up, and it's just not in my blood. Some men can be suave and lovey-dovey. I guess not my cup of tea. I tried marriage. And I'm telling you, I've been punished. Well, all I can say is happy Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and American woman, mama, let me be. Don't come hang around my door. Wanna see your face no more. Let's waste no time, folks. I can see. You know, I guess that song makes sense to some people, but I just want to say I love American women no matter how you treat them. Let's waste no time. They've been encouraging some women to me. Let's waste no time, folks. Got to make it better. Let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 1. How do we remain optimistic with market watchers predicting the worst? MoneyWise has a report by Mark Spichnagel where he is predicting the biggest market crash since 1929. He's pessimistic. His advice seems to be the advice that everyone has taken when they've had to survive a market crash, which hasn't happened in a long time, and that is diversify your portfolio to the point where the safety net is so strong that it's strong enough that if you fall in it, it keeps you up. Now, that is the reason. I guess that this is all for the reasons that chief investment strategists, they're saying they're not optimistic, but this is what chief investment strategists, this is why they're remaining busy and on guard because of people making these predictions, folks. This story is still developing. Story number 2, homelessness just got worse after the hurricane. Vox has a piece explaining how Florida criminalized homelessness before Hurricane Helene and Milton, and now they have a problem, according to the report. Now, roughly 31,000 people could face new criminal charges because they're homeless. The story is still developing with little aid and preparation in place in the midst of another big election. Story number 3, insurance and disasters are like oil and water. They don't mix, folks. TCD has a business report explaining how major insurance companies are fleeing the flood market. The headline goes on to read that the decision could be long-term effects. This could be have some long-term effects for homeowners. Now, California homeowners, according to the report, are already scrambling due to wildfires, and now some 271 flood insurance customers will be out of a policy after they expire in February, and what the article says will continue over the following 12 months. Now, the article even answers the question on why this is the case. Now, and well, if you go further, they're saying that it's because 90% of all natural disasters in the United States involve flooding. Now, the article does throw a curveball, though, if you check it out, because it claims that flood insurance is increasing in some parts of California. Now, the question now is, can an insurance company insure if there is no insurance pot? Story number 4, how are you paying for it? MoneyWise has a headline explaining how cash-strapped Americans are putting their homes on the line for a quick buck. The headline goes further by asking the question, is it worth the risk? SLB Capital Advisors reported that in the second quarter of 2023, sale leaseback volume shot up by 8.3% to 5.2 billion. Now, a sale leaseback arrangement attracts distressed homeowners who have nowhere else to go for financial help. Now, the entire purpose of the report is to get the reader to understand what measures people are taking to make ends meet. This story is keeping the attention on the financial hardship situation and the financial hardships that many Americans are having right now, which keeps popping up in the headlines. That's why story number 4 made it this week, because it's keeping the eye on people's finances. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4, so don't you go anywhere. In the Mediator, me, Brian West. I'll be right back. Tune in to Method Ace YouTube channel to check out the top interviews that made it throughout the years and months. Visit method80.com. Check out all the community interviews if you want to check it out. Method80.com. Buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Oh, yeah. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, everybody's having a lot of money situations, managing money. People are going into their savings. Some people are maxing out credit cards. And some people are even asking other people to borrow money. And when you have a thrift store or a consignment store like I have, you start noticing a lot of trends, like people trying to get rid of things, trying to sell things, trying to make a quick bucks. And it's real. And I have just learned that if you don't have it, I mean, really there's nothing you can do. Bill collectors call me all the time, and if I don't have it, I just tell them. I say, if you give me to this date, there's a possibility that I could pay it back, but right now I just don't have it. And you get the saddest part about getting in debt in America is, like, once you get in debt, you get in deeper debt. Because what happens is you take out a loan, payday loan, and they give you more interest, and then when you go under, when your credit rating goes down, they make it worse to where you cannot get out of the debt cycle. That's why people are determined to try to have good credit so they can get things that they want. And sometimes it's just better just to live within your means. And that's what I'm learning. I've had to learn that over time, because you take out a loan here, and you think you could take that loan and pay off another loan, and then next thing you know, you think you can build up your credit and then all the credit unions are watching you. And the people you owe money, they sitting outside with their boat waiting on you. He got some money, go in and get it. Everybody waiting on you to get their money. And then when people find out you got money, oh, Brian just took out a $3,000 loan. Call him up, let's borrow some money. So then you start getting this big bubble, this big debt bubble, and that's how it happens. Then you may meet a girl. Ooh, that's when it really goes down. You got to make her happy. And when she's not happy, you got to make her happy again. You got to keep spending money. Then you got to take her out to eat. You got to nurture her. And if you have kids, you got to pay the kids. And next thing you know, you are just like everybody else. And people are trying to be rich. And you're like, oh, I've given up on that dream. So that's how it happens, folks. And that's why you keep making the same mistakes. Let's waste no time, folks. Whew. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Speaking of smacking your mama and paying the bills, the bankruptcy lines continue to grow. That's a real story. As more big-name retail and pharmacy chains continue to hit the bankruptcy lines, folks, this continues to be the case. The more these stories happen, the more people get a little bit scared. Now, hardware wholesaler True Value will also be added to the list of people hitting the bankruptcy lines. Now, the wholesale hardware supplier, according to an article in Fox Business, has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and according to the report, is aiming to be sold by the end of the year to rival Do It Best. Now, the article does say that the retail stores that are independently owned and operated are not a part of the bankruptcy. That's what the article says. But the True Value brand that has been around for 75 years is. Thus getting this story to the top 8. That's why story number 5 made it. Story number 6. Store closings remain in top headlines. Store closing news has remained in top headlines. Axios has a report that now Walgreens plans to close 1,200 stores. Now, that's 10% of its locations worldwide. The fact that a lot of these retail giants are pushing back is what got the story in. This is after Rite Aid closed stores, also bringing up the question of what is taking place in the market to cause these big names stores to abandon ship. Now, the report goes on to talk about struggles when it comes to competition, but there seems to be more going on in this story, because Walgreens reported $37.6 billion in revenue in the fourth quarter, which was up 6% compared to a year ago. Now, the article goes on to say that the company lost $3 billion compared to $180 million. They lost that a year before. Now, after another strange data point is that Walgreens stock rose 4% in pre-market trading as investors welcome plans to cut costs. They're going to cut some costs, as stated in the report. Now, analysts will be all over these still trending stories, because when you lose these pharmacies, where are people going to go to get their drugs? That's why story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big head. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories this week around Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where finances and people are worried about the economy, and so got to get to these top stories. I got to keep chugging along in my life, keep things afloat. Story number 7, healthcare costs in top headlines. CNBC explains how healthcare costs could hit a post-pandemic high, but gives some important advice. One is pay attention to open enrollment so you can fine tweak your plan if need be. That's health insurance. Now, the other is paying attention to the plan you already have through work, your employer, because 165 million Americans get their health insurance through their employer, and many fail to consider what their employer is offering when it comes to cost and benefits, according to the article. That means people don't pay attention to the plans that they take out. They never read the information literature. Now, this is one stat that could make you want to adjust now, according to consulting firm WTW. They're saying that U.S. employers project their health care costs will increase by 7.7%. So now may be the time to check on that plan. They're saying they plan to increase in 2025. That's coming, compared with 6.9% in 2024 and 6.5% in 2023. That's a little bit of a jump. Now, the report goes on to explain how 52% of companies say they plan to implement programs that will reduce their total cost. So if you don't understand what your healthcare plan is saying, maybe find somebody who does, or find a consultant. That's why story number 7 also made it to the top this week. Big B. Story number 8 in the top international headline and developing news story that made this week for you. Keep you informed. Story number 8. What is going on at Boeing and other big name American brands? Big companies continue to make major moves. Reuters has a report explaining how Boeing is issuing layoff notices to thousands next month, according to a union source. Now, the article goes on to cite a plan to cut 17,000 jobs. Folks, this story made it because Boeing has stayed in top headlines, and we're talking about jobs in what has been a challenging couple of years, especially when it comes to people keeping jobs, folks. Well, folks, there are top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the mediator, the man in the middle, navigating your stories just to keep people informed. If you want to show some support here at Method, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face. Well, folks, I am out of here. I'll be back next week and look through over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed. Thank you for tuning into the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.